Do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
And welcome to the wild and woolly world of Cowboy Logic. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen. It really is great to be back on the radio.
Indeed it is.
It's my first love. It was my first love, and just had my 65th college radio station reunion up in New Jersey, Seton Hall University.
65th?
Well, I
didn't know you were that old.
No, the radio station started. But WSOU, which was the sound alternative back then, had its reunion, and unfortunately I missed it. But everybody said it was a lot of fun, and everybody from classes dating back decades, which I hate to say was me, right up to the president, were invited, and 250 people there. Sorry I missed it, gang, and I was with you in spirit for sure. So much, though, to talk about this week. So sad to start with what went on in Boston. In the height of Patriots Day, you got the Red Sox playing, you got the Boston Marathon. It's really a holiday up there. And a lot of folks who don't come from the Northeast in the Boston area really don't understand that. But Patriots Day is a huge thing in Boston. And Marathon Day is always huge for any city. New York Marathon had to be canceled that one time after Hurricane Sandy, and it's a big deal because people struggle so long and work so hard to be able to run in that marathon, and then this tragedy hits. Now, it was, of course, the middle of the afternoon when luckily many people had already crossed the finish line and the crowds were starting to dwindle. But nonetheless, 3 dead, including an 8-year-old little boy. And from what I gather, his sister and his mother also horribly hurt. And some 150-plus people injured, many of which lost legs, arms, fingers, hands. It's just horrible sights. It's coming now out of the media. And as things progress, as you cover a story like this, just like happened with Newtown, things will little by little leak out, and it's almost like a game of telephone. Somebody says this, and then it'll get a life of its own, and then they can't really back it up, and then things finally do come out a little bit more. But one thing that is for sure is this device was in a pressure cooker. And the idea of having things in a pressure cooker is that a bomb-sniffing dog cannot find it. And this has all the earmarks of Al-Qaeda. In fact, back in 2010, in an Al-Qaeda magazine, they talked about how to make bombs like this that can do the most damage and not be detected. President Obama, when he initially talked last night, did not call it terrorism, and he refuses in many cases to call things terrorism, including this guy Hassan who killed 18 people in Fort Hood. That's called workplace violence, even though he yelled Allah Akbar before he did that.
Can I interrupt you for a second on this idea of terrorism? Mm-hmm. When something like this happens and there's massive injury and there's massive loss of life, how is it not terrorism? It's either an accident that something mechanical or explosive blew up. I mean, when you're driving down the interstate, if a tanker that's full of fuel blows up and kills a dozen people, that's a tragic accident, okay? when you've got a pressure cooker sitting in a trash can full of lead and explosives and it goes off, I don't care whether it's considered domestic terrorism or foreign terrorism, this was a terrorist act. And I don't understand why it's not being called all the time exactly what it is.
Well, to his credit, President Obama did actually say the T word this morning. It was a very brief statement.
But I was saying it yesterday afternoon.
Well, I know, a lot of people were. And the thing is, Al-Qaeda, or these terrorists in general, these Middle Eastern terrorists, these, religious fanatics, what they do is they have correlated attacks. It'll be one or two or three or more. Just like happened with the World Trade Center. You got one hit, you got the second hit, then you had the Pentagon, and then you would have had whatever that other airplane that ended up in a field in Pennsylvania was heading for. This is all earmarks. This is the earmark of the way these terrorists operate. And the whole idea is to inflict as much damage as possible, because what you want to do is when everybody runs toward that, then a second bomb would kill that or hurt that many more people. And that's what's so tragic about it. But again, it's an ongoing investigation, and we'll see exactly what happens in the next few days and weeks. Now, you have your 2 cents that you would like to get to? No?
Here's what I wanted to bring up. Tonight we've got a real special show, and I'm going to let Donna intro that show for you, but I want to let you guys know that the majority of the time that we're going to do this radio show, we encourage you guys to call in, and we want that to happen as much as possible, with the exception of tonight. We've got an opportunity here to play for you an interview that we recorded last weekend with a young lady, and I'm going to let Donna introduce her and tell you all about her, but we're not going to be taking calls during this segment. We will take it. We'll take calls for a brief moment after the interview, but I noticed that we already had a caller come in, and I'm sorry, we're just not going to take them right now. Next week, we will be back, and we'll take calls because we are going to have this young lady live with us from Israel. Having said that, tonight after the interview, which is probably going to be close to 10:30 Eastern, then we'll open up the phone lines for the last 30 minutes, and we can all you people can call in and talk to Donna, because everybody prefers talking to her anyway.
That's not true.
It's got to be the aesthetics thing going on. But having said that, we've just got a couple of minutes here, Donna, before we're going to do the interview. But why don't you kind of open that up? And my little 2 cents thing that I'm going to do on a weekly basis, I'm actually going to postpone this till next week because of trying to stay on some type of a time schedule. The only last thing I would like to say is I got to thank everybody. If you're listening now and you listened last week to us, thank you. The numbers that we brought in when we finally got the reports were absolutely stunning to us. We were humbled by them. We had no idea that we would get the kind of support that we did from you guys. And, pretty much our only way of advertising, talking to you guys on Facebook. And from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate it. I assure you we will strive very hard every week not to waste a minute of your time. And in doing so, I'm going to stop talking and let Donna talk to you about this interview tonight.
All right. Our guest is a young lady, a lovely young lady that I had the chance to connect up with via email initially when I was at the Fox News Channel. And we struck up a conversation because I worked all night, and middle of the night is the middle of the day over there in Israel. Actually, right now it's the middle of the night there. But when I was working at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, it was a better time to be able to talk with her, and we chatted quite a bit via email. Anyhow, her name is Hagit Canary, and I have a hard time pronouncing her name properly. She finally corrected me. It's like a guitar. Hagit Canary. She's in Ashdod, Israel, which is in southern Israel. And while we were talking, bombs were actually coming in. And she said she talks about how she has to prepare. And in light of what happened in Boston, this is bringing things a little bit more clearly, I think, into the minds of Americans. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, it's probably not the last time And things in our way of life are drastically changing, as I think, in the last 10, 15 years, certainly since 9/11.
You know, during the interview, you guys will find out very quickly that I had absolutely nothing to say. 2 reasons. Number one, I was engineering the interview. Secondly, I was in awe. First of all, the performance that Donna did interviewing her. Secondly, just constantly thinking about the fact that how grateful am I that I don't have to worry about the things that Hagit's talking about and the things she has to worry about on a daily basis. It's not something that happens once or twice a year and then she has to, go through another few months and not worry about things happening. This kind of stuff that she talks about in this interview happens, or potentially can happen, every day. Mm-hmm. But, all right, sorry to interrupt you there.
No, in fact, I remember covering a few things when I worked at Fox that were similar bombings. And what the Israelis have, and we talk about this with my interview with Hagit, that they try to make it look like their day-to-day lives are not affected by this terrorism. And again, with what happened in Boston, it really does kind of bring a lot of things to light. And we need to wake up in this country. We need to wake up around the world to these terrorists, these extremists, wherever they're from. I mean, again, they could be homegrown. They could be Middle Eastern, as far as, supposedly the one person that's being talked to is of Saudi Arabian descent. Again, this all remains to be seen.
The bottom line is it's terrorism.
Exactly. And
that's how it should be labeled.
Exactly. And hopefully...
Then again, we're politically incorrect,
exactly.
Aren't we?
With all the money we're throwing into the Department of Homeland Security, hopefully they can stop this stuff. But, it's really hard. It's hard, and it's going to happen, and we all have to be diligent. Like what happened in Times Square. They had the people that caught this guy, or a bomb would have gone off in Times Square. So we all have to be diligent to these things in this day and age. So that said, we are going to be back with my interview with Hagit Canary from Ashdod, Israel, an young Israeli woman's perspective on what is happening in her country and in the relationship between Israel and the United States.
Do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen, and you are going to hear something that I think many people sort of disregard when it comes to international news. A person that I met when I worked at the Fox News Channel, I should say, met over the Internet, and we have struck up conversations for many years since, is a very, very bright young lady by the name of Hagit Canary, and she is our new Israeli field reporter, and she is in the town of Ashdod, which is in southern Israel, and we want to say again hello, a good Cowboy Logic Radio hello to Hagit Canary. Can you hear us?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how are you, Hagit?
Explain,
yes, explain to our listeners exactly your feelings as far as what is going on with the United States and Israel as far as the relationship that we have here with the Obama administration.
Well, I think that in the beginning when Obama entered to the White House, he just wanted to solve things. I don't think that he really studied the situation, because when he started to talk, it was like over aggressive. But I think that right now he's in a way seeking how to embrace us. And especially after when Benjamin Netanyahu went to United States and he done all these lectures and everything, he also received some criticism. But I think that now, after I saw his speech, he really tried to reconcile with the Israeli people. He tried to speak via the people and less with the government or with the VIPs, and he tried to talk with the youth, which is students or children or any new generation where can influence the future. Mm-hmm. And that's why he chose to speak with students.
Mm-hmm. And we should mention that you were one of those people that was lucky enough to see President Obama when he was over there.
Yeah, I was there. But also I found his speech very beautiful. Like, it's like he seeked what to tell us. I mean, the thing that we would like to hear. I started with comparison that he's Afro-American and they have a lot of common with the Jews, and he's teaching his daughters about Passover and it's about slavery and yada yada and stuff. And then he started to tell us, look, you need to do X, Y, Z and to do peace and everything. But there's a lot of things that they were missing to me. It's like when he says, yes, we can, he never explained what we can or how we can or where we can or why we can. He just said you need to do it. But he didn't explain how or what we need to do to achieve peace. And it's something that I would like to hear from a person that won a Nobel Prize for peace, or the most powerful person in the world, which is the President of the United States that was elected 2 times. If he was elected 2 times, there must be a reason. So these things were kind of missing to me, and I believe that if it meant to be like a official visit, I think that he would be bringing his wife also to be something like more respectable and official. But again, I don't know why he didn't bring Michelle. But it looks like he came to say hi. You need to do peace and sit and talk with the Palestinian and see ya.
See, I take the other view, and I'm sure most of our listeners will understand my point of view. I always look at somebody's actions as opposed to their words. And Israel has been the only true ally to the United States in the Middle East for decades now. We used to have Egypt. We've lost that. And this is the president's first visit to Israel in his presidency combined. He hadn't even been there in his first visit. Also, while he was there, it didn't seem like it was making much of an impact, if anything, quite the opposite, on the Arab world, as the bombs were flying into Israel while he was there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And even now, when we speak, 3 rockets were launched in southern Israel, and we mentioned even Holocaust Day. So it's like he talks about Holocaust all the time. He talks about never again all the time, but nobody does nothing. And it's very concerning because I need to live with this reality. We need to live with this reality, and it's not 100 people or 200 people. It's now 2 million Israelis. It reached in Tel Aviv. It's like, even if they attack from Syria, from the north, still all Israel will have missiles. And it's like I hear a lot of criticism from Europe. They say, yeah, United States helps Israel and the poor Palestinians. And I'm like, okay, the rockets, let me teach you some language. I mean, Grad means like hail in Russian. And Fajr, it's a word in Iran, in Persian. So you have even missiles that made in China. So, okay, United States is helping, but the Iron Dome is not a solution. And they talk about, okay, Iran won't have a nuclear bomb, but look what happens with North Korea. So I'm not relaxed when I see this moron in North Korea threatening the United States. So if he's threatening the United States, how am I supposed to feel?
Well, yeah, considering how close they are. You had mentioned that today is Holocaust Day. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the fact that, like you said, 3 bombs already have flown into Israel today alone?
Yeah. Basically Jewish holidays or days, important days, starting from the evening. So we started around 3 hours ago in 8 p.m. With a ceremony in Yad Vashem, which is a museum of remembrance of the Holocaust. Tomorrow we will have it's like a siren that we stand 2 minutes and we leave everything and we just stand and remember the victims. And then they go to Warsaw, to all these camps, and they do the how do you call it, in the March of Life, that they walk on the camps, and they put flowers, and even Obama was there, if I'm not mistaken, once. They do speeches, and actually we had also a cyber attack from pro-Palestinians organization that I have no idea if they really planned to attack on Holocaust Day, but they attacked the Yad Vashem, this museum of remembrance of Holocaust. They attacked its site. So they attacked government sites. They attacked this museum attack. They also attacked some companies attacks. They tried to attack banks and even Facebook accounts. So I have ambivalent feelings about this day, because even though I have a country and even though I have a home, I'm not safe. I still cannot wear my David Star in Europe or speak Hebrew or say where I'm from, because I wouldn't be in danger. Even when I lived in Paris, there was a murder of a Jew just because he was a Jew. It's really concerning, and they done report that there is a rise of 30% of anti-Semitism in Europe, and number 1 is France.
Why do you think that is? Because of the tolerance of the Muslim religion?
Yeah, don't forget that there is a lot of numbers of Muslims. Most of them also, they come illegally. And don't forget that these people, they're very influenced from propaganda. And most of them, if not all of them, never been here. I mean, they hear in their mosques propaganda, but they never met an Israeli or a Jew, or just, it's like they tell them they have big noses and they're rich and they control the media and stuff. And this is what they do. And it's like they never met an Israeli. And when I met Arabs in France, they were shocked because I'm beautiful and that I'm not rich. And I studied Arabic and Islam in school, even though I'm from Israel.
How many languages do you speak?
6.
Oh, my gosh. I feel so inadequate. How old are you? You're not even 30 yet, are you?
I'm 28.
Oh, my gosh. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this. This goes back to what you say President Obama spoke about when he was in Israel, of trying to talk to the young people, because it is pretty much a known fact that if you get hold of the young, you have them for life. And that is a very, very big political tactic for whatever side wants to sway you one way or the other. But the situation while he was there, and you were saying people were commenting on how he looks and the fact that Michelle is not there. Tell us a little bit about that, because to me, again, that also plays to the young people, where it's become almost an American Idol type or an idol type situation. It matters what you look like as opposed to any substance you might have.
Yeah, well, like I said, it didn't look for me like an official visit because the lack of the wife of the president. Also, all of my friends, like the girlfriends, like the women, they were like, "Oh, how he looks like he's really beautiful and handsome, like in the TV," and they were like saying, "I want to have this guy. I want." It's like, and when I looked at the election and all these YouTube videos of the women that say, "I want Obama," and all these songs, it looks like President Idol. I don't think that they chose somebody because of his skills more than the way he looks. I think that Mitt Romney is not that ugly compared to Obama, and I think that John McCain has a lot to offer to America also. And I'm not a Republican. I mean, I just heard the way they speak, so to speak. My ex-boyfriend even read John McCain's book. He was extremely impressed. And I think that you're right. I think it's a tactic. It's in a way to say to Netanyahu, look, I can speak to the youth, and they agree with me, and they agree with many things that you don't want to even sit and talk. But I have to admit that the audience was more left. They didn't let to university in Ariel, which is near to Jerusalem, because Obama considering this as a settlement, although it's a city, I think, like around that has already 20 years of existence, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't let them come, and they had a lot of Arabs in the audience, and even women with the hijab and the traditional Muslim wear. And when he spoke about the Palestinians, all of them got up. They were clapping to him every time when he started to speak about the Palestinians. And I feel that, they came like it wasn't like a lottery. Each university chose its people in a way. They chose me by, there was a competition of writing, and I won, and there were only 25 places, and they chose me. But everybody I asked, they won by lottery. So the audience wasn't like the audience that chose Netanyahu or Bennett or Lapid or even Yechimovich in the center leftish party. Most of them were very left. That's why he got the popularity, and that's why he tried to show Netanyahu that, look, they support me, and in things that even you didn't want to settle down about these kind of things.
That's a classic tactic, though, of a lot of politicians. You're always going to back yourself up with a group that is really for what you want, so you're going to get a big round of applause, and you're not going to get somebody that might ask you questions you don't want to answer, and that's right. a very, very common tactic that I saw really come to light with Bill Clinton. I just wanted to ask you the one thing. See, what you're talking about, going to Europe and trying to appease the younger generation, as President Obama is, the situation in Europe. This scares me a little bit, because if you do study history, you know, if you know anything about the Hitler Youth, it sounds to me very scary, like this is something that we're reliving and we're not learning from history. This is just my personal opinion. Right.
And it's not even this. Now, before you called me, I watched a documentary show that they made in the United States, and there are not many Americans even that there are more than anti-Semitism, that they have websites that they spread hatred towards Jews, because Jews control AIPAC, and they control Obama, and they control everybody, the media, Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. And they start to put, I saw the racism they put in their sites, and there are priests and like crazy people and all these pro-propaganda Palestinian, whatever it is, and it's rising even in the United States. So you don't need to go that far. You don't need to go to Hitler or Franco in Spain or Mussolini in Italy or even Stalin, that didn't kill less Jews, by the way. It's things are being discovered now that Stalin even killed not less Jews than Hitler. Just he didn't do it as a genocide. He just done it like a political side way. But it's something that it concerns me, because I mean, they use anti-Zionism as a replacement to anti-Semitism, which means you can say you're anti-Zionist, which that will pass in the law, but you can't. They won't admit that they're anti-Semit. So they will say, they will speak about Israel, they will speak about Zionists, while they don't even know what the definition about Zionism, and they would just spread hatred against Jews. And now in Germany there is exhibition in the museum, I think it's the Jewish Museum, that there is a Jew in the seats, and around him there is a glass, and
I saw that.
And they have to guess which one is a Jew, and this is freaks me out, because they say that they have in Germany an image that Jews are victims, that Jews are religious, that Jews are, and they have stereotypes. I mean, I'm not a Hasidic, and I'm not that religious. I don't even go to synagogue, and God forgive me. But I think I'm very liberal also, but I'm Jewish, and it's people are all the time, they're looking at me, and they're stunned. It's not the same image that they were thought.
If you have more interaction, those stereotypes will be dismissed.
And I love breaking them, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love to see how they're stunned that I'm a pretty young lady, and I'm intelligent, and I'm not rich.
Languages, gosh, make me sick.
Yeah.
All right, listen, Hagit, we must take a break here. You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio here. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen, and we're talking to Hagit Canary, who is our Israeli field correspondent. She is in a town called Ashdod in southern Israel. I hope I pronounced that the right way. But Hagit, when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about President Obama and his relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. We'll be back in just 1 minute. Hang in there.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Eric with Saving Abel, and you're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen, and we have Hagit Canary. Now, in the break, she actually corrected me a little bit on the pronunciation of her name. I was saying Hagit, which is, you were saying the Arabic way to pronounce your name?
Yeah, it's the Arabic.
How ironic is that?
That's right. It's okay. I have a difficult
so
name.
It's Hagit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Hagit Canary. She is our Israeli field reporter. And again, I should reiterate that we met online. She emailed me quite a bit when I was at the Fox News channel, and we started striking up conversations, and we've kept in touch this entire time. It's been 4 or 5 years. But you live in a town called Ashdod, which is in southern Israel, and you had been chosen to go see President Obama when he was there in Israel, along with a bunch of other college students, which is an honor in itself. But explain, if you would, the Israeli perception now of what is going on between President Obama and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, I think that right now, after the speech, they're trying to find a way to get along, because I think that even Netanyahu understands that he needs to do something, because eventually we have a lot of inner problems in Israel, beyond terrorism and rockets and everything that you hear in the news. We have even social problems. So he knows that if he won't satisfy things around these social problems, he won't get elected. He's getting elected because there's nobody that really competes Netanyahu in this matter of security. That's why people didn't vote left. But when it comes to Obama, after he left, the only thing that I saw that he was missing in basketball, he couldn't score, or he was planning with the Easter eggs, or that he was flattering this woman and calling her beautiful, and Michelle said that she's a single mom. I mean, the Israeli media is not talking about Obama with Netanyahu, but more with North Korea and Obama. Mm-hmm. So it's like we don't hear about Obama that much anymore when it comes to us.
See, it gets back to me as I judge somebody by his actions, not his words. This to me seems, from my side, and people know I'm not the biggest fan of President Obama by any stretch of the imagination, but put your money where your mouth is, okay? You go there, you're giving lip service to Israel, you leave, and really nothing's happened. And it's the first visit to Israel, and you're in a second term already. And you describe yourself as being quite liberal. And that's really one of the reasons why I find it so impressive that you kind of stand back and you call things as you see it. Can you explain, though, what your version of being liberal is from being an Israeli citizen standpoint?
Well, I think that I have like a typically Israeli character, which means that we like easygoing, we outgoing, we are not stuck in one opinion. We love to explore. We are very curious, and it's like that. I watch some kind of a speech of a leader with a charisma, and I say, God, I mean, this is the best because he has charisma. I love to read about what other people think. Like I read, for example, Daniel Pipes or Thomas Friedman and like the New York Times when I have time, or Washington Post. I love to read, and I love to take all these opinions that the media gives me and to gather my own opinion, because I think that after all, the media is made by people, and some people want you to get what they want, what they want to tell you. So I don't like to get my opinions from the media, but I have to have my own opinion by learning.
If only everybody was more like that, we probably wouldn't be in the condition we were in.
I'm doing my best.
Well, it's what happens when you have somebody who is really a very popular person, whether you agree with his policies or not. President Obama, he goes on. See, this is what I got very annoyed with when Benjamin Netanyahu was here. He didn't meet with Netanyahu here at all in New York, but he goes on Letterman. And that, to me, that's when I start to say, look, I judge the guy from the actions, not from what he says, because he seems to do quite the opposite. Again, that's my humble opinion. And we have you on because we want everybody to hear the standpoint of somebody who's in Israel and living this every day. And to that effect, explain to us, I just can't imagine what you're going through when bombs are flying over your head.
Yeah. Wow. I live in it's we have like the sectors. You have the sector that received today the small rockets that have 15 seconds to hide.
15 seconds is all you have to hide.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they have in their cities like shelters in the street, which means if the siren or the alarm caught you in the street, you go into like so it's some kind of a small building and you need to lay down. So if the rocket will hit, it won't hit you, it will protect. But still, it's not a solution because it destroys your life. They have it already 13 years. We started to receive in Ashdod and Beersheba and Ashkelon, which is the city that's southern to us, missiles and rockets in 2009. And we have, if I'm not mistaken, 40 seconds.
So this all started really pretty much with the election of President Obama.
Yeah, and
so
it happened also in
what do you think about that? I mean, it didn't happen previously, at least not in recent years when the United States really backed Israel. See, this is where I start to get a little skeptical.
Yeah, but I didn't finish, if I may. And last year they reached Tel Aviv, and they have 1 minute to hide, and then they reached also to Jerusalem with a 75 meters rocket. I don't know how long it is in miles, but they also have 1 minute. And we feel like it's like that's why people didn't believe to Obama when he came and spoke and he was all optimistic and stuff, because we live in a reality, even northern Israel, because now that they have their genocide or whatever it is in Syria, they launch missiles towards northern Israel, small rockets, and nobody does nothing, nor the UN that goes there, because they're being also kidnapped. They kidnapped army of the Philippines or something like this in Syria, in the Syrian border, and this is the army that should protect also Israel and Lebanon from these kind of people. So all of Israel is actually threatened from missiles and rockets, and not mention even Iran. Iran is even far away. But we all we under risk, and they can launch to Ashdod missile like this tomorrow, and I won't be even prepared, and we don't even have these small shelters in the street. So if it will catch me in the street, I need to lay down and pray, because it's not that they're like targeting this with a map, and they're like launching this, and like Allah Akbar, where how many Jews do we want to kill, and it will be good.
Let me ask you about what's happening in the so-called Arab Spring with Egypt. And now that the Muslim Brotherhood, which so many thought was a secular organization, is anything but. It seems like more of the violence toward Israel is starting to come from that direction, if I'm not mistaken. Again, because you have a leader there in Egypt now that has vowed to pretty much wipe out Israel.
Actually, it started even when the Mubarak was on. Only Mubarak knew how to shut them up. The current president, Mohamed Morsi, is a result of this, let's say, is a result of all these action that's going on inside of Egypt. But he also is receiving difficulties, because now the people are going against him, because he, in a way, is acting more or less normal with Israel. When he was pre-elected, he started to talk against Israel. So he pleased his people. He pleased the Tahrir Square when they've done all these protests. But now he's receiving a lot of protest, and even people started to call the name Mubarak again. They want Mubarak again. Not all, of course, but some of them. And they thought that Morsi would be a bit fundamentalist, and eventually is more moderate, and that's why United States or Israel can talk even with this president. But what concerns me more is Syria, because let's say that if in a way, the world wanted Mubarak to disappear. Basically, in a way, the world doesn't want Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president, to disappear, even though the crimes that he commits, because the rebels are Al-Qaeda. They're worse than what's going on in Egypt. In Egypt, they're just fanatics, but they're Al-Qaeda itself, and they even threatened Israel, and they said that once they will finish with Assad, they will attack Israel.
Al-Qaeda is on the rise, you feel, with Syria?
Yeah. In Syria, yeah, they are the rebels, and they said that they're Al-Qaeda itself, and they threatened Israel, even though Syria blames Israel helping the rebels, which is not true. But I can say that we receive Syrian refugees in the hospital when they get injured. But this is, of course, the media doesn't tell. And also, we are afraid that Assad will give chemical weapons, if it's to Hezbollah in Lebanon or to these rebels, or they will get these weapons later.
What do you feel? What do you feel about Turkey? Because there are some reports leaking, and with what happened in Benghazi, that a lot of what happened with the Benghazi embassy and the attacks there was the fact that there could have been some arms flowing into Syria from the United States, possibly through Turkey.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about this, but I can tell you that before Obama came, we had an issue with the Turkish, and actually, let's say that Obama made some kind of a reconcile between the two countries, Israel and Turkey, in order to have some kind of a balance in the Middle East against Syria. But I have no idea. I cannot have any information about the Benghazi thing.
All right, because the president, Obama, is very close to the Turkish leadership, and he makes no bones about it.
Yeah. But I can also say that the current President Erdogan is more Muslim than Turkish. If before the leaders were more Turkish, let's say, because let me explain. Turkey is originally a Muslim country, but they had a revolution from a guy called Ataturk. He made Turkey the modern, the way that you see on TV or hear the music, the women, everything that you see. This is the result of a liberal or let's say reform of the Turkish state. And when Erdogan came, he saw himself. He said, "Okay, if the European Union won't accept me, I will replace Egypt, because Egypt was the head of the Arab countries. It was like the mother of the Arab states. So Erdogan wants to do the same and replace Egypt. Now Mubarak is gone. So that's why he behaves bad with Israel and is a big anti-Semite, and he all the time curse Israel and everything, the Jews and everything. So we had a big issue with Erdogan, and I don't know why Obama chose Turkey. Maybe because it has a big strategy in the Middle East, and they have a big force. But beyond this, I don't see another reason. I'm sure that you will mention something about Obama being a Muslim, but beyond this,
there's speculation to that. But but the thing is, when you grow up where he grew up, no matter where he was born, that's not the concern. The concern is when somebody grows up, and as we were talking before, if you get hold of the youth, you get hold of a large part of the of people's psyche for their life. And he grew up as a Muslim, and when he got elected, his very first call as President of the United States was to the leadership of Turkey, because from what I've seen, Turkey, as you say, kind of at this point feels that it is trying to take the leadership role in the Middle East.
As a Muslim country, don't forget that they're with some kind of a competition against the Saudis and all this Qatarian, because they go with the United States in a way. So it also he wants to show Erdogan that it's like, look, I don't really need to rely on you. You need me more than I need you. I'm not like Qatar or Saudi Arabia. and you better be a friend with me. This is the same message they did with Israel. And they can curse you, and they don't really need you, and for them you're like stupid American, and I don't know, all this bullshit. But
we can say that on Blog Talk Radio.
I'm trying to be fair and balanced, Donna.
No, you are, and I'm playing kind of the counter here, and the thing is, like you're showing, it's so many different levels. There's just so many different levels. It's a very complicated situation, and for the president or for any president of any country to have to balance it, it's got to be difficult. When we come back, what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about Iran and the situation with them possibly getting a nuclear bomb, and how that even further destabilizes everything in the Middle East. And also about the situation here with more fundamentalist Christians, if you would, and how pro-Israel they are. And I'm seeing that more and more since I've lived in the South. All right, I'm going to attempt to pronounce your name the proper way.
Yeah.
Hagit Canary, our Israeli field correspondent. We will be back again in just a moment on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Mom, I'm home.
Hi, honey. Did you find a job?
Not yet.
Again? Oh, maybe next time.
Maybe not. Why should I get a job? I got a roof over my head, 3 squares, laundry done, and thanks to Obamacare, health care till I'm 26. I've got it made.
That's right, kids. While the administration keeps telling us that the unemployment rate has gone down 0.1% overall, what they don't tell you is that more than 500,000 people have stopped looking for work. So they aren't even counted anymore. If they were, the unemployment rate would be closer to 15%. But wait, there's more. Youth unemployment is already there. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, teenage unemployment is a staggering 16.3%, more like 23% for young black and Hispanic men, the very group Obama has professed he's trying to help. Even the very liberal Huffington Post reported back in 2011 that youth unemployment was, quote, the worst summer on record for young adults looking for work in 2010 and 2011 since the Labor Department started keeping those stats. That's since 1948. In other words, the highest youth unemployment since the Great Depression. Now, with almost 1 million not counted since they gave up looking, it shows no sign of improving. The youth labor participation rate is at an all-time low. Rutgers University professor Charles E. Van Horn said these, quote, unfulfilled expectations for young people trying to get that meaningful early job and failing means increased poverty, the potential to work off the books, atrophy of skills, and an increased reliance on social safety nets. And black teens are even less likely to find work, as those who need work experience the most get the least. Statistics show that young people's first job and early employment history improves their self-esteem, buying power, and overall proves they'll be more successful in life, which can only help the country as a whole. The economy has been shrinking since 2009. The labor participation rate is at an all-time low since they kept those stats back in 1948. So it stands to reason that those with no experience looking for their first job will be the hardest hit. Couple that with kids coming out of college with tens of thousands of dollars in college tuition they'll have a diminished capacity to repay, The social ramifications are also staggering. Any way you cut it, this is record high youth unemployment, period.
So why bother looking anymore? I'll just get turned down or end up with a nothing job when I can hang out in the basement and play Xbox all day. Hey, that way I can live off of everybody else. Thanks, President Obama.
This is Aaron Gaynor from the band 12 Stones, and you're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio, where conservatives and libertarians go to suckle at the breast of the Constitution.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
You know, do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for Unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, and we've been chatting this last hour with our Israeli field correspondent here on Cowboy Logic Radio. Her name is Hagit Canary. She is just an amazing young woman, very well learned, speaks 6 languages. I just feel so inconsequential talking to her, tell you the truth. She lives in Ashdod, which is in southern Israel. She'd been telling us about how when bombs fly in, she has maybe 40 seconds to take cover. You just can't here in America, Hagit, really fathom living under that kind of condition. And let me ask you, what do you really think is going to happen now if, God forbid, Iran gets a nuclear bomb?
Well, as I recall, the international community is going to be blah, 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 yeah, yada, yada, and words. I think that they're afraid. I think that they believe in diplomacy with people that call to wipe a country from the map. I don't think that diplomacy goes with these kind of people. I don't think that this is the kind of a language that you should do. Maybe you should combine talking with some kind of action, and I don't talk only about sanctions, because sanctions harm the Iranian people, and we don't want to harm the Iranian people, we want to harm the government. I think that these things are harming the Israeli people, they harming the Iranian people, but also gives legitimacy to other countries such as Pakistan, India, North Korea. I know that once Libya wanted to have nuclear weapon. I don't know if I want to live in this kind of world with these wackos having nuclear weapon threatening me.
Do you feel that Bibi will possibly do something militarily to stop this? Because it doesn't appear that the United States has much of a heart in trying to do anything here.
Yeah, but I think that also Obama said to him something, because if he didn't, they would be attacking a long time ago. Because I'm sure that they have all the intelligence that they need. So I'm sure that Obama also, when he came here, he told him something like, don't attack without us, or like without our permission or whatever. I think that in a way they're afraid. They're afraid because it's not only Iran. Like I said before, there are many countries with nuclear weapons, and now it's threatening the United States even. So I'm not sure that they're taking seriously even Iran, because they're not taking even seriously North Korea, but we do, and we don't. That's why you see Netanyahu all the time talking about this, because this is a serious threat.
I'm wondering if those countries don't take the United States seriously anymore, because militarily we're really gutting our military at this point.
Yeah, because it's like the former leaders, or even the current leader, they kind of screwed up. In a way, I think that the only, let's say, sin of George Bush the Jr. was that he didn't have the right people around him. He didn't have good consulted people. He didn't have good advisors. That's why the Iraq war wasn't like, let's say, politically correct, or I don't know, on the right time. Maybe if we did things in a different way, other countries could take America more seriously. Not mentioning Obama even. Obama is a charismatic politician, but this is all what he does. I haven't seen yet an action from Obama. At least George Bush saw that there is a danger, or he heard, or they told him that there is chemical weapons, and he tried to do something about it. If it was good or not, everybody has its own opinion, but at least you had like former leaders that they done something. I think that people don't take United States seriously anymore, basically because all this yada yada politically, diplomatically thing that they do.
It almost seems to me like it's in vogue right now to criticize the United States. That's what it seems to me. And those people who are trying so hard in this country to make ends meet and pay their taxes and keep this country afloat, they're being vilified. But that's something for another conversation that we're sure to have.
Yeah, but it's easy to blame the United States, like it's easy to blame Israel in everything that happens in the world, or the Jews. Everything that happens in the world is Israel to blame, or the Jews to blame, or the United States to blame. I never heard somebody blames Germany or France or Switzerland or Australia. I don't think that what France did in Africa was worse than the war in Iraq or Vietnam, or what Belgium did in Congo was worse than everything that happens in the Middle East.
I think we need to study history here. We really
I mean, you know what freaks me on, honestly, that there was a genocide in Rwanda. All the world knew. Nobody did nothing, and what Clinton did was apologizing. So you expect the world to take America seriously when you apologize for genocide, and then the same Clinton was elected, and the same Clinton had his own things with Miss Lewinsky, and now his wife is on, and it's the same. They do nothing. They just talk and apologize, and I'm sure that Miss Hillary Clinton knows fair and well what's going on in Israel with all the violence here, because she's been there.
Well, when she was first lady, she was saying the Palestinians ought to have their own state. I mean, that was going back decades.
She knows what's going on here. So when you know what's going on here and you do nothing, so you expect that people will take you seriously?
Do you feel that the Arabs in the Middle East resent Israel for going farther, really, in however many years now, 60, 70 years it's been in existence, compared to the thousands of years that they have been struggling? And to me, it's my opinion, they're so concerned, they're so engulfed in this political, religious fanaticism that they can't progress.
Yeah. This is one thing. First of all, they have a conflict between themselves. You have the Sunnis that they're, let's say, more moderate, and you have the Shiites, which is like Iran. Let's say that, for example, Sunnis it's like Saudi Arabia, and Shiites it's like Iran. So they have between themselves religion wars or conflict or whatever you want to call it. But I think that, for example, I think that in a way some countries, let's call it more moderate, like Saudi Arabia or Qatar, in a way they understand that Israel is a fact, because you have some things that it's not like relations, but it's like a half step. For example, if you want to go to Asia from, Europe, and you take like Qatar Airlines, you can stay in the airport, but you can't leave. So you can go there, but you don't really can go there. Mm-hmm. If you understand, this is one thing. But I think it happens because, like I said before, they have a war between themselves, and you have like more. And not only that you have this conflict in the region, you have like foreigners that enter, like Al Qaeda, for example, that they're not this and they're not that. They're one big fanatic group that is trying to apply themselves in the whole Middle East. So they see that they're threatened, and then they see Israel that is still surviving all these years from all these attacks, and they say, what the heck? How they do this? Every time we try to kill them, and they still survive. Now they have these missiles, and now they have like millions of wars.
Well, that's because that's the little Satan and the great Satan. They have those missiles that were given to Israel by us, the United States, and so therefore we are the great Satan, and we're targeted quite a bit. But you're talking about the infighting with Muslims, and as a young Jewish woman yourself, and from my American standpoint, the infighting among the Jewish population here in America, which I'd like to try to understand a little better. I know you've never actually been to America, but I'm sure you have better understanding than I do. What gets me is a large percentage of the Jewish population in the United States are hugely liberal and progressive. Very few conservatives. They seem to be chastised that they're conservative. Most of the conservative Jews that I know have been to Israel, and they see that standpoint, and they come back as more conservative. But that is not the case in the mainstream Judaism here in the United States. If anything, almost anti-Israel, very pro what Obama is doing, which to me has made Israel's position in the Middle East very tenuous at best, and still will always vote Democrat no matter what. I mean, George Bush was pro-Israel, 9 yards, everything, and no one really, he did not carry the majority of the Jewish vote at all.
Well, I don't know. I can't answer to each Jewish mind to tell you why they vote Obama, but since I lived in Europe, I can tell you that the more the Jewish community is integrated and adopt the country, which means the French Jews become more French, the Americans become more American, and the more you get more generation inside the country, more involved. The Jewish, I think the Jews, if I'm not mistaken, been donated so much to America during the wars, Civil War, and you have like a lot of history there that they feel more Americans, such like the French community will feel more French. So when things happen in Israel, they say, okay, Israel is my second home. It's not my first home. I'm first American. So I think that I don't know why they vote Democrats. I'm not that good in American politics, but I think that they don't think about Israel as like other groups, like let's say evangelists or other pro-Israelis groups, that they will vote Republicans or anything that they will talk more well about Israel. Also, I believe that they are less religious. I don't know.
Well, you'd mentioned Rahm Emanuel when we were talking before we went on the air, and give us your take on that. I mean, you're saying how you can't understand how some people can be almost anti-Israel in their thinking when they're obviously Jewish.
Yeah. Well, if they're religious, there is a group that they're like, let's say Hasidic in a way, that they believe that Israel shouldn't exist until the Messiah will come. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the religious way, okay, I can understand. But when it comes to liberal or Reformed Jews, I really cannot tell. The only thing that I can think of that they will see themselves more as American and less Jewish, or pro-Israel. Or maybe they think about themselves. Maybe Obama is good for their businesses or something that has to do with themselves, but they don't think about Israel, as you can see in AIPAC, for example, or any pro-Israel that it will talk about Israel. For example, when John McCain speaks about Israel, you see that he knows what he talks about. When Obama speaks about Israel, he compares himself to the Afro-Americans. He's not thinking, he talks why it's good to protect Israel as his point of view as an Afro-American. He doesn't speak as pro-Israel or Israel supported generally. So I really cannot tell you, because I don't really know Americans, Jews really, except my family that they are Republicans. But I really, it's a good study. Maybe I should study.
I'm almost finding that it seems like for the left and the right, for some people, government has become the religion. I mean, it's not necessarily a Jewish thing. I'm finding that's almost the government is becoming the religion in this country, which is very scary to me. I also find, since I've lived in the South now over 5 years, the Baptists are extremely pro-Israel, whereas they're not big fans of, let's say, even the Roman Catholics, which I don't know might have to do something, to do with the Pope. But there are a number of churches here that have done a lot of work with Israel and try to help the Israeli people, Baptist churches in the South.
Interesting. I'm not as good with Christianity and its sectors, but it's very interesting. I don't really know what baptism really means, but I don't know. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see that non-Jews supports more Israel than my own people.
In many respects, it's like I said, I really do believe the government has become the religion, which is scary.
Yeah, maybe they're fascinated with the Obama charm, because many of my girlfriends or friends that they see him and they don't agree with this speech, they say he's a heck of a man. I mean, the guy can talk, the guy can show. The whole speech was a big presentation. They didn't even really announce it. Just say President of the United States, and he came. It's like they know how to speak with people. There's a big psychology behind this. And maybe these Jews said, okay, I'm not that happy with Republicans for this way or another. I'm going to vote for Obama.
Well, to be telegenic is really, unfortunately, more important, I believe, nowadays than anything. Not like you say, Mitt Romney wasn't anything to sneeze at either, but you got to look at somebody like a John McCain, and you look at somebody like a Barack Obama. He's much more affable. Bill Clinton, extremely affable.
Mitt Romney. Even Mitt Romney. I don't know what really Mormon means, but when Mitt Romney speaks about Israel, I more than believe him, even though I'm an Israeli, because I can feel he's genuine. I can see that he really means it. He's not trying to please anybody. This is what he wants. This is what he understands. This is what he thinks that it's correct.
Do you feel that way with President Obama?
Not really. I didn't look. His speech was great, but like I said before, a lot of things were missing, and these things that were missing for me were essential. And many people didn't get it. All my friends in work, wow, way to go, they chose you, wow, I want to touch you, like all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, okay, I saw Obama, but I wasn't satisfied, actually. I wish I saw Romney.
Let's wait and see what happens with the actions, because, again, actions speak louder than words. Hagit Canary, our Israeli field correspondent, stay with us. We're going to just take another quick break here on Cowboy Logic Radio, and we'll be back with more of this fascinating conversation.
Adnormous Graphics has extensive experience in large format vinyl graphics production and installation. What the heck does that mean? Well, Adnormous Graphics specializes in vehicle graphics and other large-scale displays. If it's worth branding, Adnormous Graphics knows how to brand it. You need to turn heads to turn profits. Adnormous Graphics gets heads turning to your company. When other companies say no job is too big or too small, well, Adnormous Graphics actually means it. Let's take, for example, a map of the United States that shows all the red states and all the blue states. Adnormous Graphics can wrap that map life-size. That's right, and they can customize it. Tired of California being a blue state? No problem. Call Adnormous Graphics and ask them to wrap the entire state of California in red vinyl. Problem solved. No more blue state. Well, speaking of a map of the United States, Adnormous Graphics offers nationwide service and installation. Remember, you need to turn heads to turn profits. Adnormous Graphics gets heads turning to your company. Call them at 770-333-2790 for Adnormous Graphics. That's 770-333-2790. If you're ready for Adnormous results, call Adnormous Graphics at 770-333-2790.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
We're back with Hagit Canary, our Israeli field correspondent here on Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia. And Hagit is located in southern Israel in a town called Ashdod. And we were talking about a number of things about what she feels the Jewish people feel about America, about this situation now going on in the Middle East. We've touched on so many different things. But what really stands out in my mind, Hagit, is that you have 40 seconds to take cover when those bombs start flying in, and they have been coming in with more regularity lately, correct?
Yeah. Actually, well, I will say that it always falls in my neighborhood. One fell in 2009 next to my house. Luckily, I was home. I was alone. And it became worse because they got missiles that they have a bigger range. Like I said before, they reached to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, which is like, if you look in the map, it's like half of a country. Well, yeah, and they start like with the small rockets to cities or like villages next to the Gaza border. Sometimes they enter inside, and this is how it starts. Then they throw rockets, like I told you before, with I think it's 15 kilometers or something like this that they have to run in 15 seconds. And then when it comes like a routine, they start to launch throughout my city. And since my city is a city, we have the biggest port in Israel, and we have a lot of chemicals there, and oil and everything, gasoline. It's a big danger. So they know that once they reach to Ashdod, they really, they should get ready because something big will happen.
How do you function knowing that could happen at any moment? How do you carry on your day-to-day activities?
Well, it's an unknown. I mean, I wake up and I have no idea what will happen, because it's not like, again, they don't sit with maps and they select where they're going to throw, and they don't announce us. It can be 4 in the morning, and it can be before children go to school. When we had Passover, they launched a rocket through the city of Sderot, where they already have this routine for 13 years, and it fell in a school, and it was about before children went to school or something like this. Children were in the area, so we don't really can tell you when they will do it, but we know they will, because no matter how many times you will go inside of Gaza, they will receive weapons. Also, Egypt caught a ship from Iran with weapons that was about to reach to Gaza. They tried to receive weapons even from Turkey. By the way, one of the reasons that we had problem with Turkey was because they, let's say they said they sent ship with peace, people that are like humanitarian aid and on the pro-peace, whatever people, and eventually they had weapons inside, and eventually the army entered there with fake weapons and stuff, because they didn't want it really to hurt them. And the people on the ship that they were like the opposition of the Turkish, they actually started to attack these Israeli soldiers, including there were Israeli parliaments, Arab Israelis, that they were pro-Palestinians. Also, they hated the soldiers. If I'm not mistaken, 6 Turkish eventually got killed, but they were throwing the soldiers to the sea, and they hated them. So in the ship, eventually they didn't have humanitarian aid. So they receive these weapons all the time. They have tunnels inside of the ground. They have all these sophisticated ways, and I'm sure that Egypt cannot get all the weapons that they get from Egypt. I don't know if you heard.
Who do you think is supplying Egypt?
They can't even control them. Even Mubarak couldn't control them. All these tunnels. I think they had this idea from Vietnam War, when the Vietnamese were hiding in the ground and they were bombing themselves against the Americans, something like this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they took this idea from them.
I'll do the same in Afghanistan too, tunneling.
Yeah, but I think it started from Vietnam War, if I'm not mistaken. What else I wanted to say? Yeah, and they have support, of course, from Iran, and I forgot what I was saying.
Well, we're talking about Egypt. That's what I'm wondering. The whole Arab Spring, to me, from an American standpoint, is anything but. It's an Arab winter, if for lack of a better way of saying it. There's so much unrest there now because of the instability that I believe is caused by us not, allowing things to, us not taking a stronger hold. But then again, you don't want to get criticized for sticking our nose everywhere.
Well, I think that it happens, for example, in Egypt, again, because they wanted Mubarak out. They said he's corrupted and stuff. Same with Gaddafi. And these people were one of the best friends of the West. Gaddafi with Italy, and Mubarak was...
Gaddafi was starting to cooperate with the United States.
Yeah. He stopped with the nuclear weapon, I think. He wanted to do some nuclear weapon, and he stopped. Mubarak was in a good relations with the United States. But now it's becoming worse. Also, you have the Sinai region. It's like a desert. It's between Egypt and Israel, and there you have a lot of Bedouins. It's like, let's call it like Italian mafias. So only that speaks Arabic. It's like big families. And now they start to kidnap tourists. For example, in Egypt.
So we don't hear anything about that here in the West.
Well, they kidnapped an Israeli Arab and his Norwegian girlfriend. I think that they wanted to release some kind of prisoners in Egypt. And since Israel and Egypt, they start to speak between themselves, somehow they released him. And again, he was an Arab. He wasn't an Israeli Jew. He wasn't an American. He was an Israeli Arab Muslim. They kidnapped him and a Norwegian girlfriend. And this region of Sinai is becoming also a good soil to bring Al Qaeda even from the south.
Yeah, a breeding ground for Al Qaeda. Because we are always hearing, Al Qaeda is on the run because let's face it, Bin Laden has been killed, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I mean, time will tell. I sure hope that I'm wrong, but
I will tell you why. Sorry, I will tell you why. Because before, what Bin Laden did was having one Al Qaeda. Now you have Al Qaeda of Afghanistan, Al Qaeda of Yemen, Al Qaeda of Libya. Each one of them embracing the name or adopting the name of Al Qaeda, which basically they don't really have the same. Not all of them have the same agenda. Not all of them want to bring down the United States. Some of them want to bring down, for example, Mubarak or Bashar al-Assad, and then they want to fight against everybody else. But not all of them start with the same notion that Bin Laden had. For example, that Bin Laden really wanted to kick down the United States. So
we don't hear much about that at all. I mean, as soon as Mubarak was gone, we hear everything's fine. Very little was reported here in the mainstream media in the United States about crucifixions that were going on in Tahrir Square of Christians being beheaded for being Christians. And it seems to me that Syria right now, despite maybe Saudi Arabia, seems to be the only countries, besides Israel, of course, where Christians can actually live. Even Netanyahu said Israel's really the only country where Christians can openly practice their religion in the Middle East.
Yeah, I've been explained that when I lived in France, I had a lot of friends from, I won't say from where, but let's say that they're like neighbor countries. And one of them, I used to work with her. She was Catholic. I can say that she was Syrian. She was Armenian. And her father, she told me he ran away from Turkey from the genocide that the Turkish did to Armenian, that, again, nobody talks about it. And she said that the Alawite, which is, let's say, a sector in the Islam, they helped the Christians, Armenian Christians, and they really lived good in Syria. For example, in Lebanon, they have, again, wars between themselves, the Druze against the Christians, the Sunnis against the Shiite. It's a total mess. But in Syria, they told me that there is a big stability between these Alawite, that they're a minority. Bashar al-Assad is in a minority. Same like, for example, the king of Jordan, that is also a minority. So they live in a good neighborhood. Christians could live with these Alawites more than their own people. So that's why in Syria you could see a big community of Christians. If I'm not mistaken, in northern Syria, in the city of Aleppo, you can see a lot of Catholic Armenians, Christians there. And she just told me how Assad the father saved her family. And that's why they have a big gratitude to the Syrian country.
How about Lebanon and Jordan? Are they more open, or are they starting to, unfortunately, swing the other way?
I don't know, because Lebanon always been in a big conflict, because you have Hezbollah in the south, which they're more close to Iran, they're Shiites. You have the Christians, that they always have conflict with the Druze, that there's some kind of a sect in the Islam. And then you have the Sunnite Muslims that they live between them all. So I don't know, because they have inner problems within themselves. They try to avoid on the issue that comes from Syria to come to them. They're trying to avoid Hezbollah to receive chemical weapons. But we don't hear from Lebanon anymore. Just once when Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, spoke and threatened Israel and stuff, but this is the only thing that we heard about Lebanon. When it comes to Jordan, the Jordanian king is concerned that there is no peace talks, but he can't control the the population, which, by the way, the majority is Palestinian. 70% of Jordan is Palestinian. The Hashemite regime, which is, again, some kind of family, big family in the Islam, as I recall correctly, they are a minority also. So he, as a minority, controls for a while pretty well his own people when they protest. But
that's what I don't understand, why Israel's being asked to give up land for the Palestinians when there are other places where it can come from. But that's, again, another conversation I want to have. We just have a couple minutes left real quick. What I'd like to ask you is, when I was working at the Fox News Channel, at one point we had a bombing. I can't remember what city it was in Israel. It was in the middle
Kiryat
of
Shmona.
It was a bus bomb. Well, no, I'm talking about a bus bombing. It was something that was cleaned up, literally, for lack of a better way of saying it, in about 2 hours, and it killed a number of people. What I was told by our field correspondent at the time was that it's very important for the Israeli people to try to put up a front and say, look, no matter what you do, no matter what you throw at us, literally, it's not going to affect us. We're going to just continue on with our lives, and the heck with you. Basically, is that it's a mindset they're trying to convey to the Arabs that are that are lobbing bombs in there.
Yeah, well, don't forget that at the time we had almost every day bombing in buses. So, or you live in fear and you don't get out of your house, or you live and hope that it won't happen to you. And in some point we start to be antipathic when every time we heard in the news for another bombing here and there, because you also getting tired. You hearing about this every day, and sometimes it happens not once but twice. So you need to accept this in a way.
To me, it's unacceptable. As an American, it's totally I can't fathom that. And I do believe that our government can do something about it. It just doesn't seem like that is the case. And I'm not just talking about the current administration. It's been happening for decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also don't forget that 13 years of having missiles is unacceptable, and still people continue of living their lives. There is nothing that we can do. But I don't know what I don't know what the American government can do. I think that, first of all, I highly want to thank them for protecting us and helping us having some kind of protection as the Iron Dome. But I don't have ideas in my mind how else they can help us. That should be something that not only America should do. That should be something that should be noted to the UN, for example. I mean, the UN was established after the Holocaust, so I think that they should protect me also, as the rest of the international community. Why just America should stick its nose? I think that America has its own problems also, like the rest of the country. I think everybody should stop this. I think that everybody should stop anti-Semitism or any kind of racism that happens in the world. I think that we demand sometimes from America too much, but I don't know if it's just America should stick in. I think that America should be there for us, continue to support us, but I think maybe Obama should bring in more countries.
Well, that's the whole idea of the UN to begin with, but don't get me started on that, because I think the UN has strayed from its original inception where it's supposed to go. Well,
I mean, I think it's irresponsible to just let America do the things and then blame America for screwing up or do things. I don't think that one country can do what you expect to do, because the conflict in the Middle East is so big. And it's big just as the ego of the European community and the American community. And maybe if they would learn how to work together, if things in the Middle East will be looked easier, and things could be done in a different way. But when you have America in one hand and you have Russia in the other way, and you have Iran and you have all these countries, but there's no cooperation between none of them. And all of them are in the UN or in the NATO or the G8 or whatever, and they do nothing. So how can you expect of solving a conflict when they cannot work between themselves?
Well, that's a good way to end it, because Hagit, you are wise beyond your years, that's for sure. And I want to continue this conversation. I totally enjoyed it. You have opened up my eyes, and I hope so many of our listeners' eyes as well, as to the situation in Israel and your take on the international scene from an Israeli standpoint. You are an Israeli citizen. You live in southern Israel now, and you are living with bombs flying overhead almost on a daily basis. I cannot imagine. And I hope...
Well, right now it's kind of quiet, but...
don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier, and that was not the case. You had 3 bombs come in today. That's more than you should ever have to endure in a lifetime. Hagit, we thank you again. Hagit Canary, again from Ashdod in southern Israel. We hope to talk to her again soon, and be safe, my friend. God bless.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and congratulations for your show, and very mazel tov, and have a good luck.
Mazel tov, absolutely. Mazel tov on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Yeah.
All right, my dear, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
To the turds in Congress.
Do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for Unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
And we're back. Well, I got to tell you, I sat and I listened to that again for about the 4th time, and I just am in awe at what she's got to go through over there, and what I don't have to go through over here. And kind of ironic that we played that pre-recorded interview the day after we had a terrorist attack up in Boston. We've had a number of calls that have come in during that pre-recorded interview that Donna was having, and I've got to go to one that has been, without doubt, on hold the longest. I want to bring this caller in. It appears from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm guessing Tulsa, Oklahoma. Where are you from, and what's your name? What's your first name?
Hey, this is Gabriel. I'm actually calling from Napa, California.
Well, you stumped me there.
Yeah,
but then
well,
again, I'm playing Stump the Area Code.
I grew up in Oklahoma, and that's what my cell phone is. But yeah, I'm in Napa today, and just moving along soon. So
Well, I got to
anyway,
tell you, I tip my hat to the fact that you stayed on hold with me there for the better part of an hour and 15 minutes.
I was saying to Don, we have to.
Yeah. It's been a great conversation. I've been listening on the phone. I like that it taps into there, so I've just been waiting patiently, and it's been an interesting conversation. I'm definitely glad to listen to it. I wanted to say that I appreciate the fact that it is an open conversation, and it seems to be a little bit different than a lot of the other radio and television things that I get so used to hearing. As far as it seems to be more of an open conversation, and both of you didn't seem to interrupt each other too much, and I don't know, just personally for me, I get really frustrated whenever when people, it seems on television and radio and whatnot, it just seems to be a huge,
when they talk all over you.
Yeah, it seems to be a huge argument.
That was a joke.
Verbal bickering.
Yeah, I get it. You just yeah, but I thought it was a really great thing to hear a conversation with a real person and to be able to hear what's going on in Israel and I liked also too that it was quite lengthy. It was it was nice to get more than just a little sound clip of something or some sort of sometimes it's hard to understand what may be going on somewhere because you just hear people kind of yelling from different sides, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to really know? So it's nice to listen to that. So I wanted to say I appreciate that. And
I got to tell you, man, the kudos you're laying on us, coupled with the fact that you sat on hold for an hour and 15 minutes. Unfortunately, like Mark Levin, I don't have a book that I can send you. Or
that's all right.
Or any of these other celebrity talk show hosts that can.
A mug.
Let's send them a book and a mug and a throw rug or whatever. But I got to tell you, you've made my night just at the fact that you hung in there as long as you did, and the fact that you listened like you have.
But here's the point: is we can have more lengthy conversations. And it's funny you brought that up because that was exactly the point we're trying to get across. Everything has to be done in sound bites now. Everything has to be done in 30 seconds or a minute tops. And if you don't, you have to almost edit things to say what you want them to say. And unfortunately, it's gotten to the point now where so many so-called journalists, which I think is an oxymoron right now, will actually edit things to skew the way they want you to think. And I don't want to do that. I've always wanted to interview people, and I played devil's advocate a bit with Haji. I basically said, what about this? Did Obama do that? And she was very straightforward. What she saw, she was there, and I'm not going to try to change that. And I want people to be able to have their own opinions. And we are going to have her, even though it's going to be like 3 o'clock in the morning out there, we're going to have her live next week for a little while as well, because she's a very, very, beyond her years, very well-spoken young lady, and she's very politically astute and can really shed a lot of light, because you could see from the interview, from so many angles, it's a very complex situation. Every country wants something different. Every country's pushing for their own agenda and fighting each other, which is something as a United States we don't really have so much here. Thank God.
Well, and Gabe, another thing that we're going to be doing next week, like Donna said, we're going to have Hagit in. She's calling in live, so she'll be able to take calls from me. I hope you'll join us next week and call in and actually pick her brain a little bit. But something that's going to be very interesting as well is that we're in the process right now of figuring out the best way to schedule a gentleman that we have met that is going to do a very similar interview with us, but he's from Egypt. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I was actually going to ask you something, a second question
sure,
about whether I don't want to cause controversy, but I was going to ask if you would have any plans of interviewing people from from other countries that are not so
pro-American.
Pro-American.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We are.
Absolutely.
I don't want to cause a controversy, but I was going to ask if it would be interesting to as you have a conversation with somebody from Israel, it would be interesting to hear a conversation from somewhere where you don't hear so much about like that.
Well, yeah, and we're going to. We've already discussed with this gentleman coming on the air. He's more than willing to do it. It's a matter of setting it up, and our desire would be to have him on, let's see, what would be last Tuesday, like the 30th of April, whatever that Tuesday night is toward the end of the month. The other thing about what we're trying to do here, and we're the infancy of our radio show. I mean, this is the second show we've done. And what we're trying to do is establish a group of global field correspondents. Now, Hagit is obviously the gal that we're using from Israel, but we've also lined up from Ireland, who's got some, a gentleman from Ireland that has some very unique views on what's going on in the United States. We've got a Western Canadian. We've got an Eastern Canadian. Trying to think of who else we've. I'm trying to line up somebody from Australia. We've talked to a young woman down in Argentina, and what we would like to do is get a nice stable of global correspondents that are not trained journalists, that are not going to sit here and give us a bunch of spin and things that we want to hear, but rather give us their perspective on what their fellow citizens in their country think about the United States, think about the political situation in the United States, and think about the way our government is running our country.
Funny that you mentioned Ireland, too, because watching the Boston Marathon bombing story as it was progressing yesterday and news was coming in, people were saying, other countries have had this, and that's, it was a huge problem, in Ireland with the IRA and things of that nature. So there are so many countries that have had horrible problems, and unfortunately, we really haven't shielded, notwithstanding 9/11, obviously, and a few other things. One person, though, I did want to bring this up on Facebook while that interview was on. John Podgorski hit me on Facebook, and he said, the mainstream media is saying this is the first terrorist attack since 9/11. Well, really. And he brought this up, and I was thinking the same thing. The Fort Hood shooter, as we mentioned going into Haji's interview, was never called a terrorist attack, though. The Obama administration is calling that workplace violence, even though this guy killed 18 people and yelled Allah Akbar before he did this. This corporal has done.
What was Sandy Hook?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's
what was Denver?
That's terrorism. Yeah, it seems to me.
Square bomber. Well, I think they're really referring to bombing per se and terrorist acts, but to me, that's a terrorist act. Columbine. But the Times Square bomber was caught by alert citizens. The shoe bomber was caught by alert citizens. And we're spending so much money on the Department of Homeland Security. It's just a money pit. So now they put out, in fact, today, they say they're monitoring Christians because we all know that they could be terrorists, because they want to make sure that they want to look at people. The Department of Homeland Security is actually warning against, quote, Christians who take the Bible literally, unquote. They're saying they could be terrorists. That's just pathetic. And they're also coming out with some stuff now.
Well, I guess if you're going to be objective, I guess they could be, but it's... I just don't know any of them. And
truthfully, though, what other companies have to try to say, look, we're doing such a good job. They actually have a new website up today in response to what happened in Boston, saying, look what a great job we're doing. Okay.
Hey, Gabe, have you heard about the number of bullets that the Department of Homeland Security has been stockpiling over the last couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
We say it again? I'm sorry.
Have you heard about the number of bullets, the number of rounds that the Department of Homeland Security has been stockpiling for the past couple of years?
Well, see, that's another thing. I'm not sure what to believe. I hear it's just going up and up and up and up and up, but I don't really know exactly. I mean,
well, we can tell you because you never
yeah.
answered on the air. You don't know the answer to.
Well, I probably
is it? Do you think it's truthful, or I mean, that they're stockpiling it up?
Napolitano has said this. She goes because didn't she say something? Or a spokesman. I don't know if it might have been Napolitano.
It was a high white horse souse.
Okay, stop. Something to the effect that they use it for target practice, but they don't.
Here's
they don't
the
use
deal.
hollow point bullets for target practice. It's too expensive.
Yeah, here's the deal. They have stockpiled 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition. They're stockpiling it in the form of 9mm, primarily 9mm, 40 caliber, and 45 cal. The weird thing about it is, from what we understand, they're only stockpiling hollow point. Now, any military individual, any law enforcement individual will tell you that nobody target practices with hollow point. I know that I don't because it's too expensive. And to put that into perspective, 1.6 billion rounds is enough to shoot every man, woman, and child in the United States 5 times.
You got to wonder what they need for. There's a lot of money.
I certainly would. I do wonder.
Well, here's what the mainstream media is not telling you, and that's what we're here for.
Here's something else that's pretty good. And we're not into the conspiracy theorist crap,
we're giving facts. You can create your own opinion from it, but I think
we encourage you to do the research, and we would like, really, quite frankly, nothing more than to be proven wrong. Here's another thing that happened, and it was retracted. I stuck it on Facebook, I believe, toward the end of last week, and then it was retracted about 2 days later.
They retracted it?
Yeah.
Really?
It was a Department of Homeland Security bid request that they actually copy and pasted into Facebook off of the .gov website, a bid request for vendors to sell to the Department of Homeland Security bagpipe supplies, reeds, cases, tenor drums, snare drums, drumsticks, DVDs and CDs on how to clean and maintain bagpipe, along with spats, which I used in marching band. Yeah, spats are little white patent leather things you put for your boots when you march. Mm-hmm. And so I stuck that on Facebook, and and by no means as a result of my posting on Facebook, but 2 days later, that bid request was withdrawn. Now, the only thing that I can ever think of that bagpipes, tenor drums, snare drums, and spats are all used for at the same time are funeral processions.
Mm-hmm. This is very scary stuff, and there's also this kind of like an Area 51 thing that's being built in Utah. And actually, the Fox News Channel, my former colleague, Catherine Herridge, flew over it in a helicopter in a report earlier this week and was showing it. This huge crane there. This is a humongous compound that's being built that is going to be able to track everybody's email, Facebook posts, anything you do, any private information for every man, woman, and child, not only, I don't believe in the country, but I think it was in the world. And they can't explain why they're doing this.
I am so watched.
Yeah, we're in trouble. Do I care?
Well,
I mean, we got
just keep on going.
We got helicopters that fly over our farm all the time, and the only thing that Donna and I can think is Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Seriously,
the thing that I can't understand though is I don't understand why would they be against you when you're not causing any trouble? You're trying to find some truth. You're trying to speak about things in the world, and who's threatened by that?
Well, you know what? Bruce Springsteen, who pays very little taxes, by the way, but you got to love him because he's a great poet. I believe said it best. Poor man want to be rich, rich man want to be king, and the king ain't satisfied till he rules everything.
Mm-hmm.
That, my friend, is what he gets the big bucks for. It's just an amazing line. And it's so true. If you study history, and this whole Second Amendment thing is really about control. It's not about whether you like to shoot a gun and go, out hunting or whatever. It's about control, because in history there's never been a tyrannical regime that has not disarmed its citizens. Ottoman Empire, take a look at that. They had a gun control law from 1886 to 1911. The Soviet Union targeted anti-communists, killed 20 million people. Nazi Germany, of course, we all know about that. Gun laws in China. Guatemala, they actually had, they killed off Mayan Indians. Uganda, they killed Christians and political foes. And of course, this country, Native Americans hundreds of years ago. But you really have to understand this is all about control. And it's scary how many people are totally naive to it.
Here's something to think about, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that you have an 11-year-old son.
Right.
I'm checking how much time we got left. I got to give you the abbreviated version of this.
That's
you got an
that's
11-year-old son. You're able to control what that child does because you have full authority over him, especially in the area of financial. He has no financial independence. And he has no place to live. He can't do anything on his own, so he has to pretty much abide by your rules. Well, as he gets older, let's say he turns 18 and he graduates high school and he goes out and gets a part-time job while he's going to college. Well, he's gaining independence and you're losing control. So at any rate, but you still got some control over him because you're still holding the title to the car, you're still paying the insurance, the tag. You're probably somewhat subsidizing his ability to live.
Pay college, learn how to go
so
and drink.
You've got a little bit of control,
$30,000 a year.
But you're starting to lose because he has somewhat of his own financial independence. Now, he finishes college, gets out into the real world, moves out of the house, is no longer dependent on you financially. Well, at that point, you have absolutely no control over your son. None whatsoever. And I liken that to the government and citizens. As long as citizens are dependent on the government financially, more so than others, those that are not as dependent can become a threat because they are independent. The government has less control over them. Having said that, that's my little diatribe for the day.
Well, Melissa Harris Perry from MSNBC, believe she's a professor as well. She was the professor a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you heard this, who actually said, your kids don't belong to you, essentially. She said, your kids belong to the communities. And, Gabe, we got to leave it at that, and we're going to...
Not a problem. Hey, I sure appreciate you taking my call, and I'm glad this was my first time to listen to you guys, and I'll keep putting it on Facebook, though, so I can remember to tune in.
Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Be there or be square.
Hey, before you go, where in California are you?
I'm in Napa, California. I'm here tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'm going to go down to Monterey.
Have a glass of wine for me. How much time do you have?
Great.
I don't drink, so grab you a juice or something for me.
Just real quick, Margaret
I'll have
Thatcher.
some iced tea.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Margaret Thatcher.
All right, well, thank you guys very much.
Hey, bye. Thanks,
thanks.
Gabe. Margaret Thatcher's funeral tomorrow. I want to just send out again my condolences. What a woman she was. And President Obama will not be there. Newt Gingrich and Michelle Bachmann are going to be there, and a few members of the former Bush administration may be there. Former Secretaries of State James Baker is going to be there, and George Shultz. But Margaret Thatcher will be laid to rest tomorrow, a great lady. I'm going to leave you with a quote from the great lady, a quote or two. How much time do we have left? About
you got enough time. One.
Okay. This
you
is a
got
short
10
one.
seconds.
There can be no liberty unless there is economic liberty. Margaret Thatcher, rest in peace. We'll see you next week, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on Cowboy Logic Radio, cowboylogic.us.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Cowboy Logic Radio. Unfiltered, politically incorrect, common sense. You've been listening to Cowboy Logic Radio, a division of Donna Fiducia Production.